Hello, world. My name is Zachary, and today we are with Greg, the CEO and co-founder of Bankorus. Greg, thanks for being on here today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So I have a lot of things that I would like to cover. I would specifically, just so you know, the audience that we're speaking to right now is a community on Facebook, cryptocurrency investors. And a lot of the times I notice that getting to know the person behind the company is the most important thing, specifically for me whenever I'm researching it. If you could start with kind of your background. I tried to do some research on LinkedIn, and you have a million different things on there that I was trying to parse through. If you could start back before Bankorus and your current journey now and kind of what's gotten you here.
Great. I'm originally from Belgium. I moved to the UK to do my studies. I studied at Oxford University, studied philosophy and a literature degree as well. And then I spent some time at Harvard too. And then I worked for Morgan Stanley on the private wealth management side in Hong Kong, covering Asia, because the headquarters for Morgan Stanley for private wealth management for Asia is in Hong Kong. And then I also worked for a hedge fund called GLG. At that time, it was the second largest emerging market fund in the world. It merged now with Man Group. And then when I was at the fund, I was at a particular meeting with one of the largest conglomerates in China, and the chairman of the conglomerate was there as well. And I arrived early. He arrived early. We started talking, and he asked me, "What do you want to do with your life? You're so young. You work at this fund. What's sort of the next step for you?" And I said, "Well, at some point, I would love to do an MBA because I never studied finance, in an academic setting, and I thought it's the thing to do." And he asked me, "Great, where would you like to do the MBA?" I said, "Well, I would love to do the MBA, in America, right? America for me is a place where I want to go with the best business schools, etc." And he looked at me and he said, "Young man, that would be the worst mistake of your life." And I was really surprised. And he said, "Well, MBA is not really about what you learn. It's really about the people that you meet. And it's not really about the people that you meet now, but it's really about the network that you built 10, 20 years from now." And so he said, "Look, you're European. You spent some time in the States. The place that's really missing is Asia, and specifically China, because China, he obviously was Chinese, so a little bit biased, but China is the engine or getting more and more the engine of the world economy." And at that time, this is 2011, people talked a lot about the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China. And at the Emerging Market Fund, I saw that, well, there's only one of the BRICS. There's really one country that stands out, which is China. And so he said, "Look, I have a friend who owns a school in China, an MBA school. Why don't you go there and get a scholarship and see how it works?" And so I thought about it, and I thought, well, the worst thing that can happen is, I can always drop out and just have a few months in China. And then I came to China for the first time ever in September 2012. And then the school was owned by, his friends appeared to be Li Ka-shing, the richest man in Asia. And in this school, the Cheung Kong Graduate School of Business, I learned quite a lot. And it sort of dawned on me after a few months in talking with many of the classmates who were predominantly Chinese, many of the professors, that you're in a country that's multiple times bigger than the United States in terms of population, and has the financial technology, or at that time at least, often of 1970s with tools of now. And that opportunity was really, really big for me and several other people that sort of lived overseas, worked in finance, and knew what programs hedge funds were using, and and several other firms were using out of China. And so we then decided actually, or I had a roommate at that time who was an entrepreneur from Shenzhen, and he told me this amazing story of like how he bought these investment products for his child's education, and how the value of it went down significantly. And so I looked in these products. It was very over leveraged, etc. There was not that much regulation going on back then. And he asked me, well, what do you do with your money? Is there something I could replicate? And so I said, look, there's several of these portfolios you can make with ETFs, etc. And, I can put something together with financial technology. And, he liked it. His parents liked it. His family liked it. And so before I knew it, we knew we were onto something. And then together, me and a professor that I had from the Cheung Kong Graduate School of Business and several other professors, we set out to build a company, which is a Chinese company. We call it Mi Cai, which is a Chinese name. Cai is the Chinese word for wealth. Mi is from the god of wealth, the mythological creature for wealth, Milefo. And then we launched the first robo-advisor of China. And then gradually the company kind of moved into different parts. So first we were the first robo-advisor, similar to Betterment or Wealth in the United States. We did that in China. And then we launched a second series of financial technology suite, which is an operational platform, an operating system for wealth management firms and private banks. So it's a B2B solution. And this was then developed together with one of the professors who was the former head of big data and quant of UBS for Asia. And he was also at some point the head of Point. So in financial world, there are three big risk systems. You have BlackRock, Aladdin, you have MSCI, Barra, and Point. So we developed this, and now we're the market leader for the high net worth individual sector in Greater China for software. And then we, a few years ago, saw that actually we are spending a lot of time cleaning the data that we see that our clients have that are really siloed in a lot of different Excel sheets all over the systems. And so, the way to see the financial system worldwide, not just in China, but worldwide, is really layers upon layers of Excel sheets. And then you have different, often pre-internet systems, one that takes care of risk, one that takes care of portfolio analysis, one that takes care of a different, a different type of function within the wealth management value chain. And it's kind of people being middleware, moving the Excel sheet from one part to another system, etc. And it's really messy, and there's no uniform reporting system. And so a few years ago, we were talking with several people and said there has to be a solution for that. We as a company spend too much time with our top AI engineers gathering data and making them uniform rather than actually building the AI system out and training the engine. And that's actually how we by coincidence, found blockchain. And this is before Ethereum. We were looking into fabrics. It's what became sort of the Hyperledger conglomerate. And then gradually, we found out about Ethereum when we were part of Microsoft. We were part of Microsoft Accelerator. And then we work with different chains. Now we also work with NEM and a variety of other chains. And so we've always been a company that knew our customers really well and try to find the best technology to solve particular problems. And so we've then used the blockchain primarily for the audit trail within the wealth management value chain. So it's then hashed into the chain, all the KYC of the client, everything to do with reporting. So every messaging, so that if, let's say, 2 years after the client has onboarded, there is a dispute and the client says, hey, wait a second, I'm not aware of the risk, there's some litigation happening, then we have a clear audit trail of what exactly is happening on the chain that's immutable. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of dawned upon us a while ago that, well, since we're already putting all the data of the assets and the client on the chain, what if we digitalize the asset? What if we create a security token, as it were, where the asset that is traded on the blockchain rather than, from one system to another, or in the form of a share, or in the form of a fund, or in the form of a title deed of a piece of real estate. And then we saw, wow, this is a very big opportunity that we have. And that's how Bankorus as an idea started. And as a natural extension of what has always been the vision and the mission of our company. And that's sort of the short history. So we already are, a 4-year-old company mm-hmm. that has people from the wealth management industry, people from the AI industry, people from the blockchain industry coming together and having been serving this particular high net worth individuals, family offices. For a while, we have around over 200,000 family offices now that indirectly use our software suite. And we're all moving their assets to the blockchain. That's the goal. Mm. Does that make sense?
That's awesome. I think that gives so much more context to the people listening on, your background and how many different areas you've hit on in your, young career. But I want to just, if we could take one step back, because I think one thing that really interested me the most whenever I learned about you guys was that this is not a new company, that you guys have been around before. And we see these ICOs popping up every single day, it seems like. Now you can go on to CoinMarketCap and just look at how many. So that was one thing I really found unique with you guys, that you've been around the block, no pun intended, and that you plan to keep going in the future. So if you could just in a, so I'm not putting words in your mouth. If I asked you, what is Bankorus in its current state today? Just a very brief, currently where you're at and kind of your vision.
Bankorus is a platform, a marketplace, primarily tailored towards high net worth individuals to access crypto. It's often been compared to the Amazon of crypto and security tokens. High net worth individuals primarily are interested in entering into crypto via crypto funds or security tokens that have an actual underlying. And we create an environment that is fully compliant for people, particularly family offices, et cetera, to access these security tokens, to trade them, but also to get extra liquidity, to borrow and lend crypto to cash to crypto, et cetera. So it's really a one-stop shop for crypto wealth management. It's our big vision as a company that between this and a few years' time, people can manage all their wealth, whether it's digital tokens, whether it's security tokens, on the chain in the form of a token.
Gotcha. That helps a lot. My mother actually is in the mortgage industry. And one thing I kept seeing on your website is this could be very valuable to the real estate industry. If we could, I think what would help me is just do a quick walkthrough of, okay, I own a house. I want to tokenize it, if that's the correct term. What would be the process, from beginning until end on kind of what that would look like under your ecosystem that you're building?
So there are a variety of jurisdictions that depend on how exactly the piece of real estate has to be tokenized. With us, we work primarily with third-party vendors that have their own protocol for securitization, such as Poly or such as Trust Token or Securitize. And how it would work in the United States, for example, is, let's say you have a piece of real estate, a block of flats, a house. You would often use a trust as a wrapper of your house. So a trust is an American trust that people might be familiar with. Is a legal construction that has been around for centuries, where you would have a trust company that would set up the trust and would create this legal vehicle for the piece of real estate to hold it. And then you can appoint as an owner any beneficial owner to that trust. And you basically, what you do is you say, look, the trusts, to trust beneficial owners are the token holders. And you can stipulate how many there are. Could be 10, could be 100, could be 1 million token holders. And then each of them are a fractional owner of the trust. And a trust is basically that piece of real estate, or could be multiple pieces of real estate. Could be 10 apartments, 100 apartments, 1,000 apartments. So that's typically how it works. And then the legal contracts are then put into the smart contract. So the actual legal contract is hashed, depending on what vendor one works with, are then hashed within the chain. And so as an investor, there are some limitations often on who can own particular security tokens. Sometimes you have to be an accredited investor. Depending on local jurisdiction, some nationalities are excluded. And so a series of addresses are often whitelisted for particular security tokens. So most of the investors have to be accredited or have to go through a verification. On the Bankorus platform, so all of the people that access it, they have what we call a BID, a Bankorus ID, which is a digital identity, a Dropbox as it were. And in the Dropbox, we have all the relevant documentation that any issuer of security tokens might need, whether it's a copy of your passport, proof of address, proof of accreditation, tax return, etc. That's then stored decentralized. And we work with several third parties for that do this accreditation, ID verification, etc.
Awesome. That helps me understand it a lot more. There's a lot of terms on your site that I was kind of going through. B market, B tokenize, B loan, BID, B report, and B risk. I don't expect you to break down each of those, but if you could just go into, there's probably one or two that you're really excited about that this industry hasn't really seen before. It's kind of your baby. If you could go into one or two of those that's really exciting you the most, I'd love to hear about it.
The biggest one that we're excited about is B Market, which is the main functionality of the whole Bankorus ecosystem. It's a marketplace where we facilitate the trades of the security tokens as well as utility tokens in a very compliant environment. And the main thing I think that we solve with B Market is the custody problem. So a lot of the traditional high net worth, they like crypto, they like the returns, they talk about it. There was recently a survey by a private banker saying that 6 out of 10 high net worth would like to enter crypto in the next 12 months. However, the problem with a lot of investors, my parents' generation, is that if you say, look, here is this piece of paper, and there are a series of words on them. It's your private key, and if you lose it, you lose all your wealth.
Yeah.
That's not very good user experience, and so we believe that at Bankorus, we've with the variety of licenses that we have and that we are growing, are able to solve the custody problem on the marketplace as well, and make it for a traditional investor a much easier user experience to access crypto, specifically security tokens.
Yeah, I 100% agree with the fact of people being their own bank has both the good of it and the bad of it at the same time. So I agree that's a big obstacle that you guys are helping fix. If we could dive into the demographic, kind of the market. So high net worth individual, I saw that a lot on the website. Kind of a two-part question. If you could explain what your current target demographic, who would find most valuable to this? And then 2, do you ever plan to expand outside of this high net worth individual, or is that kind of going to be your bread and butter over the coming years?
There are two main groups that we see as early adopters that totally love the Bankorus platform. A first group are the crypto high net worth. So China has a lot of miners, people that's either invested early in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. They are looking either to diversify their portfolio into different assets. They would like to buy several houses with crypto, buy several other investments, and sort of don't have the volatility that much that crypto has. And at the same time, they would like to get a return on the crypto they have via fixed income products, loans in crypto, etc. So that's a first group that reached out to us. The second group are people that come from the traditional wealth, that have often the wealth comes from a tech background, so tech entrepreneurs, and they see that the crypto has had quite a good return in the last few years, and also see that crypto as a part of their total portfolio, besides venture capital, private equity, real estate, hedge funds, can actually provide a very good diversification for the total portfolio. And so they're looking to either enter crypto or are already in crypto and increase their positions. A big benefit for that second group that crypto offers to that second group rather is most of their assets are illiquid. If you buy a venture capital fund, you're often locked for 7 years, 10 years. Same for real estate. If you want to sell tomorrow, you have to do it at a massive discount. And so what crypto allows them to do is it allows them via crypto loans to get more instant liquidity. And also it allows them to sell off part of the illiquid assets. In Asia, there's not that big of a secondary market in venture capital. This is something that crypto and blockchain technology can help create more and more so, as well as for real estate. There's an interesting part that people have to understand, I think, in finance, which is called the liquidity premium, which means that if I have an asset that's illiquid and I have the same asset, but I can actually sell the asset whenever I want to, then the difference in value between these two assets is often 20 to 30% of the value. So if I have an asset and all of a sudden via some way I can make it liquid, which you can do with tokenization, then the value should go up by 20 to 30%. So let's say I have a block of flats, a big building that's worth $100 million. If I would tokenize it and sell the tokens, technically or theoretically, the value should become $120, $130 million. So by adding blockchain as a structure to the mix, I've made $20 to $30 million. And so that's really, really interesting. And we predict a lot of funds that will go into that security token space and sell off the tokens to unleash the liquidity, as it were, into the market. And that's a great thing. It's also a very beneficial thing for people that are not high net worth individuals. Now, if you want to get on a property ladder, it takes a very long time to save up because you need 20, 30, 40%, sometimes even deposit. With tokenization, you can buy 1% of a house. Right? Those things are currently not possible. And these are some of the great benefits. The platform itself, eventually we would like to be a platform for everybody, where everybody can buy and sell their security tokens. We initially target the high net worth just because they're the early adopters for many of these new asset classes, whether it's private equity as an asset class, venture capital, real estate. But eventually what we want to do is we want to give the same type of choice and the same type of sophistication via which a multi-billion-dollar family offices can invest now to everybody. using AI to lower the costs of having thorough analysis, of having financial planning, having financial risk management, and at the same time using blockchain technology to lower the minimum costs to enter venture capital, to enter private equity, to enter real estate, or having a very diversified stake in a Picasso is something that now is only very, very few privileged people can access. If it can be tokenized, everybody can own 0.01% of a Picasso, which can be an investment that is of interest.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for breaking it down. I heard two big things that really stood out to me was diversifying your portfolio a bit. I recently heard Peter Thiel saying that his bet in Bitcoin is almost just a hedge against the rest of the market as anything. So just that diversity. And then two in there, the liquidity. Like you said before, we have never had that quickness that you can just go back and forth between owning and not owning something. So those are the two big things. I love what you guys are doing. Obviously, there's more behind the scenes in your team that's behind you right now. If you could explain, I went through your site. It was very refreshing to actually see people I can look up on LinkedIn and like, okay, I can see why they fit in this role and stuff like that. Could you expand a little more on one, how many employees you guys currently have, and two, kind of the big players that you're currently working with on your team?
So we have 40 people in offices in Beijing, Shanghai, Silicon Valley now, and several other places. Let me just highlight a few people on the team. So my co-founder, Eagle An, he previously built out Standard Chartered for almost 10 years in China. Before that, he was for 4 years at Agricultural Bank of China in the headquarters. So China has 4 big state-owned banks. Agricultural Bank of China is one of them. So he was at the headquarters. He's a CFA charter holder, financial risk manager. And about 7 years ago, he was hired by Credit Ease, which at that time was the largest peer-to-peer company in China, to basically launch peer-to-peer loans similar to Lending Club and Prosper, but then for high net worth individuals, and create this into very attractive investment products for high net worth individuals, and then diversify away also from peer-to-peer into hedge fund, venture capital, real estate, both locally as well as internationally. And so he became the acting head of that wealth management division. And so he hired over 3,000 relationship managers in the course of about 2 years, and made Credit Ease, which started out as a peer-to-peer platform, into the second largest private wealth management firm in China by volume, with over 50 offices all over China in a very short time. And so he before already took an asset class that peer-to-peer that people have a lot of questions about. How does it work? Is it safe? A lot of scams with peer-to-peer, into something that is very attractive for high net worth individuals, and build the brand. And so with crypto, with Bankorus, he's doing the same. China, as you know, is a very big economy for high net worth. The amount of billionaires here is increasing steadily and overtaking America. So it's really, really interesting, and we're really lucky to have him and sort of his experience from having done it before. Credit Ease is a multi-billion-dollar company. It's still privately owned, although they spun out a small part called Irendai, which is listed on the NASDAQ. And so he's one of them. Another person I would like to highlight is, besides our CIOs who I mentioned before, have a lot of experience with Betterment and several others, is a new hire actually that just came on board. Her name is Anne-Fleur Goldsberry, and she's a former chief marketing officer of Silicon Valley Bank. So Silicon Valley Bank is one of the main technology banks. Almost every venture capital firm, as well as many startups, including ourselves, bank with Silicon Valley Bank. And we're really, really lucky to have her. She has over 20 years of experience, both in leadership with technology firms. Like, she was one of the heads of Logitech for marketing, as well as Citibank. And so she really can bridge the technology part as well as the banking parts. We're really, really lucky to have her on the team. And then I would like to mention a few advisors as well that we have. So we're actually one of the only firms out there where publicly a very important person from private banking industry, which is the former CEO of Morgan Stanley's private bank, which is a main wealth manager, and they're the largest private wealth management firm in the United States. The CEO of that private bank has publicly come out and has invested a significant amount of money in us, as well as coming out as an advisor to us. So we're very lucky with that. That's Chris Van Aken. And then we also have Roland Berger's CEO, Charles-Edouard Bouet, to come up. And also we have an agreement with Roland Berger to together go to market, talk about security tokens, go to different private banks. So Roland Berger is very big in Asia as well as in Europe. They have over $1 billion in revenue. So we're really, really happy to have them on board. And then last but not least, we signed a partnership with Jingdong, JD.com, which is the second largest e-commerce firm in China, seen as the Amazon of China. And they have over 260 million customers. They're quite big in the Southeast Asia region as well. And they actually are, by revenue, the third largest internet company in the world, besides Google and Amazon. We will be a key partner together founding their accelerator, and we will work closely with them, part of their financial arm as well. So they have a very big finance arm on the blockchain and on our platform. So we're really looking forward to that partnership.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, because that's huge news. I was scrolling through there and I was amazed that JD.com is just absolutely massive in that area. If you could expand, so you said it's an incubator of sorts.
Accelerator.
Accelerator. Yeah. Okay. If you could expand on kind of your position as the accelerator, what are you kind of providing in that partnership? I'm really interested in that.
So it's us and a few companies. And so the idea is really to have a very solid mutual relationship between the two companies. For JD, they're looking to learn about security tokens, about tokenization of assets. And so we will help we'll help them with securitizing part of what they are doing and telling them about the technology. It's still in an early stage, so we're sitting down. We have the same investor actually as JD.com in early stage, and so we have a very good relationship with them from before. And so it will be an exploration in both ways to see how we can get the best win-win, both on the e-commerce side as well as on the financial arm they have. And we look forward to using a lot of their knowledge, customer base, information, and network in China as well, to list security tokens on our platform, as well as help them enter into the blockchain and accelerating their growth as well as our growth. So it's a real win-win situation that we have with them.
I'm sure that's an exciting time there right now. So we've covered a lot on what got you to this point. I would like to know your current timeline and estimated roadmap of in the coming months. Do you have any certain goals? Obviously, I think you guys have an ICO coming up, which we'll be talking about in a bit. But as far as the technology, if you could explain, when could a high net worth individual actually get involved or put money into it? Or if you could go on the roadmap a bit, that would be very helpful.
we look to launch a great deal of the main functions, such as B Markets and B Tokenize, within this year. We're currently doing a variety of tests with tokenized securities, as well as doing some deals in a more manual way to go through the whole legal process with several firms, and then connecting them with several investors that we have. A key function that we will be rolling out soon is B Report, which is a kind of a uniform reporting standard that we are putting forward to the industry. And then we are involved now with the tokenization of a few key assets that you'll hear from in hopefully the near future, as well as we are acquiring quite a lot of significant licenses worldwide that would solve part of the custody problem, as well as allow us to do an MVP of B Markets. So these are things that within this year you will hear about. And we are partnering with a variety of companies, both on the security token vendor side, as well as on companies that would help us with creation of BID, so it's digital identity, verification of passport copies, KYC, accreditation of investors, etc. So we're currently and will be announcing several partnerships to come in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that. I have kind of a personal question. Are there any obstacles that you guys are currently, trying to work past that maybe you didn't see coming into it, that you're trying to break through right now, that are going to be, if we can get past this hurdle, we're just going to be, obviously there's always going to be stuff coming up, but are there any current obstacles in your way that you're trying to overcome right now?
One of the key obstacles that we currently see for the sort of entire ecosystem of the blockchain, and specifically security token space, is that there are a lot of protocols that are starting. There are a lot of people with assets that come to us and want to tokenize, but there's not really a marketplace yet for these things to list on and to deal with the with the compliance going forward. And that is something that we believe is growing much faster than expected. So there are many people from the traditional industry that come to us and say, "Oh, hey, we have a REIT, or we have several traditional assets, or we have a series of security tokens. Can we place it via you? Can you find investors for it?" And so we think that the supply is growing much faster than there is liquidity at the moment, which is quite kind of interesting.
Yeah,
so we work a lot with with different emerging markets. So my co-founder now, he's in Nairobi in Kenya. We do a lot in Lithuania and other countries, Eastern Europe, and so there's a lot of demand for them, Africa, Southeast Asia, but there's just not that much places to list these tokens yet.
Obviously the obstacles lead to opportunity if you can kind of figure it out. So I'm excited for you guys. In the pre-interviews that I've talked with your team, trying to do as much research as I can, I learned a little about the ICO. At that time, the date hadn't been listed. Can you update us on, one, the updated ICO status, and then two, where is the best place? I want to get involved. I believe in this vision. Where is the first step? Is it Telegram? Is it, on your website? If you could just kind of direct people there.
Yeah, the best place to start is our Telegram chat, which is t.me/Bankorus, like dinosaurs. So BANKORUS. Other than that, there's our website, bankorus.com, where you can find the white paper and more information. But Telegram is really the central place to go to, where we also post the latest blogs, the latest information. We have a very active community, so you can talk on the community, and our community managers will best place. In terms of the token sale, we have more information in the Telegram group chat about that. Exact date hasn't been set yet.
Awesome. That answered everything that I have on my end. I know it's getting pretty late there in Beijing, China for you. So again, thank you so much for your time. I'm excited to share this with the community. And again, I hope you have a good week. All right.
My pleasure. Have a great day. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the questions.
All right. Have a good one.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.